All right, everyone, the recording has started. We apologize. We're a little bit behind schedule. We got a lot of moving parts tonight. So tonight is our Thursday, December 2nd, December 2nd, 2021 work session. Obviously, all agendas are subject to changing up until the time of the meeting. Nothing has changed, so we're going to move forward. We're going to open the meeting and call to order. Let's go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mickey, can you lead us, buddy?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Next item on the list is public comments. The town of North Beach welcomes public comment. Please place your comments in the chat box. Please state your name and physical address. I'm sure there'll be more at the end. There might not be any right now, but don't worry, we'll allow some time later. All right. And again, we will accept comments. So we'll move on. So if you think of something later, just put it in the chat box. We definitely will answer it. So here's what's going to happen. First of all, thank you everyone who applied. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 amazing North Beach residents applied for the open vacancy for the town council from the passing of Jane Hagan. Big shoes to fill. And the way this is going to work tonight is I'm just going to look at this sheet here and we're going to go in this order. And council's going to ask you the questions. We're going to move, if you're not being asked the questions, we're going to move you out into the waiting room as we go through this. So the order that I see it. Yes, Brian.
Yes, thanks. I wanted to go ahead and let you know I was late with sending in my desire to not be interviewed. So I apologize for the late notice, but I'm concerned with all the other commitments that I have and responsibilities that I have that I probably can't give the kind of engagement that I would like to give to the town council. So I won't be requesting interview.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and doing that. We really appreciate it. And if you can't find the time now, we promise you we have a lot of committees. We'd love to see you. I see you all around town now, so we'll get you on some committees. I promise you.
That sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right, Brian. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So you said something, Stacey?
So I'm going to put everyone in the waiting room, but
Yeah.
who's the first one on the list?
The first one on the list from the attachment is Frederick Noble.
Okay, all right, hold on 1 second, I'll let you know. Put in waiting. Okay, it's going to take me a few seconds.
Council, as she's doing that, you guys work out the 5 questions. If one's going to disappear based off of what Mickey said, Lauren, I think you did an amazing job. Thank you.
Okay, I think that Elizabeth, it would be good if maybe you went first with your question.
Okay.
Right.
Wait a minute,
gonna-
I'm not ready yet. I'm not
All right, that's
ready
fine.
yet.
We're not
Okay.
asking questions yet. I just want
Ready.
y'all to work out who's doing question 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then put your name next to it. So that's your main question that you're asking.
So my only question is, which question is going to fall off? Number 4?
So then, I think I could go next. So that would be, so 5, so you're number 5, I'm number 1. And then whatever, Mickey and Greg, whatever questions you want to pick.
Okay, I'm good. Mr. Noble is still with us.
Okay. So number 1 is Elizabeth. Number 5 is Lauren. I know Mickey came up with a
Wait.
new.
Wasn't Elizabeth going to do question number 5, but
She's doing number 5, but she's gonna ask that
first.
question first because it's a
Yeah.
good icebreaker.
okay, and then you're gonna ask question number 1. Okay.
Second,
Greg.
yes.
Do you have, is there a question that strikes you as the one you want to ask?
For you?
No, for Greg.
Oh, for Greg. He's not, is he on yet?
Well,
Yes. Greg, unmute
Uh,
yourself, please.
I think if he would ask either two or
I'm
three.
passing American Legion, so I'll take whatever y'all give me to ask.
Hey, Mickey, I think we could strike number 4.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
I
Okay,
think so too.
okay.
And then I could see me forming number 3 into my question.
Okay, gotcha.
So can I ask a question, Greg? Do you just want them to ask questions until you get to
Yeah,
the house
that's
where you?
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't need to ask questions. As long as I can hear what's going on
Here,
and I'm there,
okay.
that's fine.
So then
Okay.
I'll take what is question here at number 2, and then I'll ask
Yes.
my question after. So I'll
Okay.
do both
Thanks,
those questions.
Mickey.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
cool,
Thanks,
that
Mick.
works.
Go
Elizabeth
team.
first, Lauren second, Mickey third and fourth.
Yep.
Correct.
All right,
okay, Mr. Noble, you can unmute yourself.
all right. Turning it over to you guys. Good luck.
Hello, Mr. Noble.
Good
How are you
evening,
this
all.
evening?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you for your application. I'm Councilmember Lawton, and I will be asking you the first question this evening, and that is, what is your favorite non-professional activity? What do you like to do for fun?
For many years, I was an avid golfer, but since then, I have now turned to enjoying myself at the senior center right there in North Beach and participating in a lot of the activities there.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Noble. I'm Councilwoman Kabler, and I'll be asking you the second question. So I know from your letter of interest that you wish to fill the present vacancy to preserve the beauty of the town, ensure the safety and security of homes and businesses and residents, and address issues related to flooding. I paraphrased your letter of interest a bit. So as a follow-on to that, I'm interested in what you think your first year will look like in this role, so you can hit the ground running on these issues that are important to you.
But one of the major things that I have to do is I have to familiarize myself with the total operation of the town council, with the particularly with the various laws, rules, and regulations of both the state, the county, as well as the township, and many of the ordinances that are involved. I want to get myself very familiar. I'm hoping that there's going to be a training class for newly elected or newly appointed town council personnel, so I can get myself more familiar. Once I've got myself familiar, then I want to participate as much as possible in as many of the committees to be able to understand how things are being run, when they're being run, why they're being run, and if I can help to contribute my knowledge and experience into that process.
Okay, thank you.
Please pardon my cough. Hello, I'm Councilman Mickey Hummel. This is my second term. So I'm going to have 2 questions for you. The first one
Sure.
is, what are your key professional strengths, and how do you see them positively impacting your role as a council member?
I guess the key professional strength that I have is management. I've ran management for probably close to 40 years and have been very successful at that in managing people. But the most important aspect is the volunteering. I believe that volunteering for the municipality, as well as, in my case, the church, the senior centers, and numerous other activities, that's what is important in running the operation.
Okay. So my next one is, with less than a year left before this term is up for the current sitting council members, how do you feel you'll fit in with us currently?
Well, it's getting to know each and every one of you individually to be able to effectively work as a team in getting what needs to be done for the borough. I mean, excuse me, I came from Pennsylvania, where boroughs up there and down here were towns, and I just moved here 2 years ago. I was on the council up there. So it's important for me to be able to integrate and work with each of the individuals, not only on the council, but also the people that are on the committees and also the employees of the town. That's most important.
Okay, thank you. All right. Stacy, I believe that was the last question.
Thank you, Mr. Noble.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we finished then?
Yes, in the past, I believe we've allowed you to stay if you'd like.
Yep.
So,
Or you can, yeah, you're going to stay in the meeting though, Mr. Noble.
All right, very fine. Thank you then.
Who's next on the list, Mickey?
next is Ken Wilcox.
Okay.
I have to find my camera there. Ken?
There
is
is
he-
Ken.
Yes, hello. Hello.
Hi,
Can you hear
Ken.
me?
Can hear you, Ken.
Hello.
Good.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
Very good. Awesome. Well, good evening.
Good
and
evening.
Welcome. I have the first question for you this evening. This is Councilmember Lawton.
Yes.
What is your favorite non-professional activity? So what do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? I like to tour around. We are right now still in Budapest, Hungary. And one of our favorite activities is going to the various city parks, walking around, seeing the beautiful city around us, or we travel out to the countryside and we go to the small markets that we find. So I like to tour around, walk, just go different places, just see different things, go down that road that you don't know where it's going to end up, and enjoy the time in the afternoon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Hi, Mr. Wilcox. I'm Councilwoman Kabler, and I'm going to ask you the second question.
Sure.
So I know from your letter of interest that you wish to fill the present vacancy to, and I'm going to paraphrase your words, to contribute your considerable experience in government at the federal, state, and local level, to include serving as a prior council member for the town of North Beach, to issues the town faces today. As a follow-on, I am interested in what you think your first year will look like in this role, so you can hit the ground running on these issues that are important to you.
Well, really the number one issue, and this is for a lot of places throughout the world, is dealing with climate change and what we're dealing with flooding and what the effects are. And I was on the council since between 2010 and 2016, and we have been talking about this for many years of the eventual bay rise that's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. The projections in which we had initially back then, I believe the rise now is probably doubled for a shorter period of time where it's going to be raised more. So there needs to be, and there is already, we need to find ways in which to preserve what we have. And I know, I mean, we've had many things, the berm, the raising of the roads, the stormwater management, all those things. So we have to continue to think creatively of how to deal with those sorts of things. So really that's the number one. The second one, I'll just add it because there's never ever just one issue at any one time, is bringing back people to the town in the we'll call it post-COVID times, to bring back people to the town and get back to as much semi-normal as we can of having the tourists here and bringing them back. So it's an economic development issue, but pretty much the number one is going to be the effects of climate change and bay rise on the town.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Ken. Good to see you.
Hello.
So I have two questions for you. The first
right.
one, what are your key professional strengths and how do you see them positively impacting your role as a council member?
Okay. Well, first off, I'll just deal with, of course, my experience of being 6 years on the council. So I will add that as my professional experience in the times which I've been there. But professionally, as of now, since 2016, when I left the council, I joined the Foreign Service, and my professional role in dealing with issues that come up every single day and in an international context. So what we've learned as I learned in the past 6 years is how to be resilient, and how when issues that you never saw coming that you now need to address, and they're before you, and deal with it in the best rational and best rational way to handle that. I mean, in the past 2 years since I've joined in the State Department, is at the beginning of COVID, we had to bring back to the United States over 100,000 people. It was the largest return of people in the United States ever. And then just recently, only a couple months ago, we had the evacuation that happened out of Afghanistan. And surprising to many is that we did have an influx coming here in Hungary also, and we had to get those United States citizens back. And that was probably my longest 2 weeks that I've been in the Foreign Service, and I think I got about 20 hours of sleep over that period of 2 weeks. So it is being able to be adjusted and also continuing with a professional attitude.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, with less than a year left in this term before we're all up for election again, how do you see yourself fitting in with the current council?
Well, as you well know, as you being one of them, is that I've worked with you before. That I know that I can slip in I mean, as I said, I was on the council for 6 years. I know the dynamic. I know many of the players when they were before they were on the council, some of them, and I'll be able to fit right in and continue on to finish out the rest of Jane's term.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last question.
That's it.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Ken.
Yep.
You're welcome to stay.
Do I hang on? Do I hang up?
You're welcome to stay for the rest. Or if there's anything else you want to see in the rest of the meeting, because we're hitting lovely chapter 3, because we're working on updates for that after this. And then Stacy, the next one on the docket is.
I would probably sign off, since here it is about 1:30 in the morning.
Got it.
Go to bed. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Stacy, I went by my files open, not by the actual list, so I'm gonna go bounce back up to Virginia Geisler.
Okay,
So sorry about that.
that's all right. All right, she's on. There's Miss Ginger.
Miss Geisler, I'm not seeing her on my screen anyway.
She's on the bottom, but she's it doesn't look like she's been let in.
I let her in. She just hasn't.
It-
Okay.
Not unless she
Okay,
stepped away from.
hello?
Here she is. Here she
There
is.
she is.
Oh, there she is. Miss Geisler?
hear me?
There you are. Your
I
camera is not on. Is that purposeful?
said I'm at a restaurant in Texas. It's
Oh,
noisy.
okay.
I'm stepping outside. Sorry.
Okay, no problem, no problem. Well, welcome. I am Councilmember Lawton, and I have the first question for you. What is your favorite non-professional activity? So what do you really like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? Walk on the boardwalk.
Okay,
That's
well,
one of
thank
my
you.
favorite things. Huh?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. It's noisy.
Hi, Ms. Geisler. My name is Councilwoman Kabler, and I have the second question for you. So I know from your letter of interest that you wish to fill the present vacancy to, and I'm going to paraphrase your words, so excuse me, but to effect positive change by becoming part of the process. You want to offer your experience in budgeting and your people skills to help get things done. So as a follow-on to that, I am interested in what you think your first year will look like in this role, so you can hit the ground running on these issues that are important to you.
Well, it's my first time to look at any kind of politics or any kind of government kind of work. So my first thing to do would be listen and see what's going on before I open my mouth. So I think that if for any proposal, you have to do research and check it all out. Does that
Okay.
answer your?
Yes, it does. Listeners are good. Thank you.
Sure.
Hello, Ginger. My name is Mickey Hummel. I'm also on council. I'm going to have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is, what are your key professional strengths and how do you see them positively impacting your role as a council member?
Well, professionally, I was a tech nerd in the telecom world and a project manager. So that being said, I usually can organize things and find the right people to get a job done that needs to be done. So part of it is knowing people and knowing their skills and finding out what they like to do and what they're good at, and then asking them to do it.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, with less than a year left in our current term before we're all up for re-election, how do you see yourself fitting in with the current council?
It's like I said, I don't really know any of you all that well. So it'll be a good opportunity to meet you, get to know you, and see how I fit in rather than seeing how I think I can work well with most people. I haven't had any problem with anyone in my professional experience. So I just feel like just be one of the team and see how it goes.
Okay, well, thank you, Ginger. Hopefully your food is still warm when you get back to it.
Okay.
And you're welcome to stay on for the rest of the meeting if you like.
Thank you.
Are you asking me a question?
No, it was just thank you. We hit the 4 questions we were going to ask. Now we're going to move on to the next person on our docket.
Okay, before you go, it's like I said, I'm traveling. I'm in Texas and I'm at dinner. Is it okay for me to drop off?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your meal and your trip.
Enjoy Texas.
I just ordered it, so it's not here yet.
Maybe when you get back.
Thank you, all of you, so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. All right, Stacy, next we have Alan Kramer.
Ding. There we go. There's Alan. He was just there. There you go. His name's there. There he is.
Alan? Hello, Alan?
There you go. There you go.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Alan.
Hi.
Councilmember Lawton here. Good evening. I have your first question. So what's your favorite non-professional activity and what do you like to do for fun?
What is my favorite non-professional activity?
Yeah.
I would say my favorite non-professional activity, I enjoy photography. What do I do for fun? I love the outdoors. I do a lot of gardening. I spend a lot of time outdoors, family, friends, doesn't really matter. I don't do as much camping and hunting and fishing as what I used to, but I used to enjoy those activities as well.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate your answers.
Hi, Mr. Kramer. This is Councilwoman Kabler. I'm going to ask you the second question. So
Yeah.
I know from your letter of interest that you wish to fill the present vacancy to, and I'm going to paraphrase your letter of interest somewhat, to bring your skills, experience, and qualities to this position to include self-motivation, you're self-motivated, you have a strong work ethic, and the desire to address challenges. So as a follow-on to that, I am interested in what you think your first year will look like in this role so you can hit the ground running on these issues that are important to you.
That's a very good question. I do know right now that there are certain issues in town that are fairly significant. I have been part of some of those, the stormwater management, flooding issues. You know, I see spending a lot of time trying to work on those issues. Another thing that I think is going to be a challenge, and it's just a product, I think, of the environment that we're in right now with pandemic, is coming out of the pandemic, the post-pandemic, and what that looks like in terms of recovery in any sense, whether it's financial or not. I know it has been a burden for a lot of people, a lot of places, a lot of communities. And I think that's going to be a significant challenge coming forward, you know, next year in particular. So that's what I see really kind of in first year, the challenges that what I think this will look like and things that we work on.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Ellen, how are you? I'm going to have two questions for you.
Yeah.
The first one is, what are your key professional strengths and how do you see them positively impacting your role as a council member?
My key positive strengths. Okay.
Oh, sorry, did I say positive? I meant professional strengths. Sorry about that.
Professional strengths. Okay. Yeah, I have been in my present role in my job for 30 years, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit on what was in my letter. I spend a lot of time not only writing documents, reading documents, critical reviews, but I also spend a lot of time in meetings, on phones with public, the general public, various stakeholders, state agencies, federal agencies, local communities, town governments, you name it, Indian tribes. I have the propensity and have for many years now, working across the table, sitting down with folks to try to find common ground and resolution where where there's differences among parties for whatever reason. I spend time trying to find that common ground and finding resolution where we can move forward with issues and solutions. So that is one thing, and that's a key strength professionally that I think I have that I can bring to bear in this role.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is, with less than a year left in our term before re-election, how do you see yourself fitting in with the current council?
That is a very good question. I have a lot of familiarity with council and some members of council. I sat on the committee, the environmental committee with Liz Lawton. I know her, the mayor, fairly well. We've known each other for a while. And I know that there are members of council that I'm not as familiar with. So I do think it will be a situation where I'm getting my feet wet and getting to know individuals that I don't know very well. And at the same time, working with folks that I do know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you're welcome to stay on if you like. So, but now we're gonna move on to the next applicant.
Okay.
And Stacy, the next one is, and I'm very sorry if I butcher the name, Nyreen Wayan.
Okay. There you go.
Miss Wayan?
Unmute myself. Hi.
Okay.
I'm
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Hi, nice to see you all.
So I am Council Member Lawton. I have the first question for you. It is, what is your favorite non-professional activity? What do you like to do for fun?
Well, I have more time to do it now. I actually am a guitar player. I used to be a worship leader at a church here in Calvert County. So yeah, my passion is definitely music. So I play my guitar as much as I can. That's what I do. And walking my dog would be the second thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
At heart, yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Miss Wayan. Did I get that right?
Wyand.
Okay. I'm Councilwoman Kabler. I'm going to ask you your second question.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So why do you wish to fill the present vacancy? And what do you think your first year will look like in this role so you can hit the ground running?
Well, this sort of came quickly. I was, I've lived in North Beach for, since 2019, so not very long, but now working from home, I've sort of started to get into the newsletters and, the activities and everything that kind of happens in North Beach. And actually I was having a conversation with Mike Benton, who lives next door. And I just started looking into things and I got an email about this vacancy. I didn't know anything about it. And I did talk to Stacy earlier this week. She sent me an email and said, "Oh, we'll be interviewing you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I was really just trying to get some information. But to your question, I am a stormwater engineer. I am an environmental engineer. So, living close to the water is something that I've always, wanted. And thankfully in 2019, I was able to move here. I've lived in Calvert County since 2002. Excuse me, I have 3 children. My ex-husband actually lives a street over. He's also in North Beach. We sold the big house. The kids went to college. We both moved here. So I am a huge environmental advocate. So I'm hoping that I can serve the community with some of my experience and my knowledge in that realm, stormwater, land development, planning. I have a long career in engineering and design. So I'm hoping I can contribute something. I know we are doing flood impact studies and environmental studies. And I know there's the wetlands over here and some development that's planned. I've seen a lot of houses going up. So I see things changing very quickly. And I think my level of experience, I have something to contribute. So I'm hoping I can do that to improve the community. And in terms of hitting the ground running, I don't know. I think I'm doing that now. Like I'm already getting interviewed for this. But yeah, I don't know exactly even how. I think you have 5 members. I don't even know how many members are on the town council, or how long you've been serving. But I know that this would be like an interim time of service, and then next year you'd be running for reelection, I assume.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the first year, I guess what I would plan to do is to get to know all of you, and get to know what our annual goals would be for the coming year. and do everything I could to support those goals.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Excuse me, sorry about that. Hello,
Hello.
how do I pronounce your first name? Because I don't want to butcher it.
That's okay. It's Nairi.
Nairi? Okay. Hello, Nairi.
Hello, nice to meet you.
I'm going to have two questions for you. The
Okay.
first one, and you sort of touched on it in your last answer, is what are your key professional strengths and how do you see them positively impacting your role as a council member?
Okay, well, like I said, I'm a civil, I went to the University of Maryland. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Maryland. I've grown up in Maryland, lived in Maryland my whole life, love the Chesapeake Bay. I work for Prince George's County Department of the Environment. Currently, I've been there for almost 5 years. Before that, I worked for land developers. So I have a pretty good history. I'm 53 years old, so I have a pretty good, chunk of time of my life that I've spent working with regulators, agencies, permitting, different environmental groups. I've done a lot of work with community meetings. I've done a lot of work with bridging gaps between regulators, agencies, policymakers, and developers and people who actually want to build something. So I do think my experience is going to be helpful to what we want to achieve as a town. I know we probably have some specific goals moving forward. I would like to see more environmental, proactive environmental things happening, right? I see a lot of it in the community. I think we do a good job for a small community. We have quite a bit, but I think we could definitely do more, and hopefully I can help elevate what we're doing in the community in terms of environmental advocacy.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And then the next question, which you sort of also touched on as well, is we have less than a year left in this current term before we are up for election. How do you see yourself fitting in with the current council?
Well, that's interesting because I again, this is all coming at me kind of quickly. So I don't know all of you. So obviously I have no idea how I'm going to fit in with you guys, but I can say that I've been pretty successful at team building. I've built teams in my professional work. I've built teams in my, like I said, I was a worship leader for 10 years at a church. So I was able to, different people, different ideas, different cultures, different backgrounds, different education. It's important to let everybody sort of have a place at the table. So I've got a lot of experience in different parts of my life, sort of bringing people together. And at this point in my life, like I said, my youngest, she's at college this year too. So I have 3 children in college. I'm working from home now. So without that commute, I think I have a lot more time. I'm not as tired from driving to work. So I do think I have, I have the ability to dedicate the time needed to serve well and to work well with other folks on the council, if given the opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And you can stay on for the rest of the meeting if you like, but
Okay.
we'll move on to the next applicant now.
Okay.
And Stacy, that is Aubry Love.
Okie dokie. And there's Miss Aubry Love.
Good evening, Miss Love.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well too. Thank you. Welcome. I am Councilmember Lawton. I will be giving you your first question this evening. It's a bit of an icebreaker. So what is your favorite non-professional activity? What do you like to do for fun?
I like walking all over town. That is one of the things I love doing. Yeah. And stopping along the way and visiting with everybody and getting errands run and stopping for the playground in front of the Boys and Girls Club, that kind of thing. I just love walking. Love being out with people.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hi, Miss Love. Sorry, my camera was off. I'm Councilwoman Kabler. I'm going to ask your the second question. So I know from your letter of interest that you wish to fill the present vacancy, because I would say you really love the town, but that's a pun, so I won't use the word love, but that you really appreciate the town and you're very much a part of it, and very engaged in it, and you want to contribute to its continued sustainability and quality of life. And I am paraphrasing somewhat your letter of interest, but that was my takeaway. So as a follow-on to that, I'm interested in what you think your first year will look like in this role, so you can hit the ground running on these issues that are important to you.
That's a good question. I don't know all of the agenda of what the town council is currently working on. I do know that I'm a good thinker and a good listener, and that I have a lot of wisdom and experience. And so generally I have been accustomed to hitting the ground running. I believe that I was actually led to live here, and I've seen lots of evidence of that. And in each task that I'm called to, I've seen a way to move through what needs to be moved through in concert with other people. So I know we've had some issues around flooding. Of course, when I moved here, everybody told me about the previous flood and how the church at 3rd Street was one of the few things that did not get flooded. So, you know, I listen to the people and try to move forward with that. I'm a good reader and a good thinker.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Aubry. How are you tonight?
I'm good, Mickey. How about you?
Pretty good. So I'm going to have 2 questions for you. The first one is, what are your key professional strengths and how do you see them positively impacting your role as a council member?
Okay. I'm at that stage of life where I've had a number of careers. So I'm a retired banker with what used to be Wachovia Bank, and then became Wells Fargo. So commercial lending and being able to do financial statements and strategic planning around finance, I'm competent in that. I've been a government contractor in terms of bringing diversity and inclusivity to programs. And so I'm pretty confident around that. I've been a lifelong pastor, but that was before we knew that that was a career.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Cool. All right. And then the final question is, with less than a year left in our term before we're up for re-election, how do you see yourself fitting in with the current council?
Well, I've had a little bit of exposure to the council. I'll say that when I first moved here, and I didn't know North Beach existed. I was leaving my church in Silver Spring, and I missed my exit. I came off on exit 11. It led me around Route 4. And when I got down here and saw this beautiful town just open up, you know, when you come down through Chesapeake, I thought, well, how can I live there and what can I do? And I ended up buying a drafty old house right in between Rod and Rio and Harrington Harbor, but I didn't know those places existed. I learned that after being here. I feel like, Mickey, I'm going too far off your question. Ask me one more time. Let me get back on it.
That's okay. Stories are great. It's with less than a year left in our term before re-election, how do you see yourself fitting in with the current council?
Okay, yeah, so I was talking about having met the council. I think it's a roll up your sleeves kind of come in and be able to listen, because there are people who are already there working on things, who have history, who go back generations. And as my neighbors have told me occasionally, you don't really get beach people yet. So I listen and I take that in. It depends on what the agenda is, but I think that I have an assortment of skills, and I'm able to work together with a group of people from a broad range of experiences.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Did you-
you. That's it.
Did
You
you
only
say
get
that-
four questions.
Oh, but can I tell you a short thing, just a short story
Yeah.
about coming here? Okay, I
Yeah.
want you to know this, that I did have the part about not being able to talk for 3 years. I moved to a senior apartment in downtown Silver Spring, and everybody had durable medical equipment. And to be honest, I felt that I was waiting to die just being there because it was an older, that's what it was for until you go into a nursing home. So when I got this lead into North Beach and the relaxed pace and being able to walk and being able to go and pick up vegetables at the Chesapeake Bounty, it made a big difference for me. I came to a town council meeting. An official there talked to me about my drafty old house and helped me to get a furnace and some insulation in the Healthy Homes program. And my neighbors have just been very accepting and kind. And I will tell you that in my transition, I started to take guests in from Airbnb because I felt that I had heard that in my spirit to open my home and be a witness. I did that. I want you to know that that town staffer, Kelly, wrote me a letter and said, "What's going on over there? You know, are you running some kind of guest house? You need a special permit." I did not know that. And so from there, I did what I needed to do. I went on to the Board of Appeals. And I just meet everybody in town and I think that I'm at home. And so I wanted you to know that. Okay, good deal. If those are the questions, thank you for asking me. Thank you for taking the time. Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you.
You're welcome to stay on if you like. So for the rest of the
Oh,
meeting.
so what would she do? Put me back in the room, the waiting
No,
room?
nope, you're good to stay right where
No,
you
you
are.
I
can
can just
stay.
hang out right here?
Yeah, you're in.
Okay, cool. I'll mute.
All right, Mickey, I'll let the last candidate in.
That's good because I know I was going to butcher that name. And I hate that I would have done that too.
Right. There you go. She's in.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
I am Council Member Lawton. I have your first question, but before I ask the first question, could you be so kind as to tell me how to say your name? Because I'm sorry.
Sure, no problem. It's Sangeeta Malayandi.
Sangeeta.
Yes, Sangeeta.
No,
Yeah.
that's actually quite beautiful. Thank you so much. So my first question for you is for you. I have the first question. Did I say that wrong? What is your favorite non-professional activity? What do you love to do for fun?
Ooh, that's a good question. What I do a lot of times outside of work is I like to learn. And right now I am on the side doing a PhD in public health. And I see it as a side hustle, but something I truly love and I think complements my professional work really well. And something I've really enjoyed over the years. And I hope one day to be able to use beyond just in a professional capacity.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi, Sangeeta. I'm Councilwoman Kabler, and I have your second question. And I think I said your name pretty close. Pretty close. I'm not going for the last name, though. So here's the second question. I know from your letter of interest that you wish to fill the present vacancy and I'm going to paraphrase your letter of interest, your words a little bit, but because you really love this town, you're very much a part of it. You want to contribute to the town's growth, preserve its community and family values, and ensure its resilience to economic and environmental threats. So as a follow-on to that, I am interested in what you think your first year will look like in this role so you can hit the ground running on these issues that are important to you.
Sure. So I think this first year will be very critical. I think globally, much of the states around and the world are recovering from the recent global pandemic. thinking about how to position themselves for the future. And as we know, currently, there's a lot of economic sort of constraints going on, and the environmental constraints, and how to best position this town to be resilient to overcome some of those challenges. I think in the very, very short term, how can we take advantage of some of the federal funding out there? For example, businesses are struggling with labor shortages and inflation and supply issues, and families also have other economic constraints. And we do know that, there's a lot of federal funding that has come into play. And so how can we use those opportunities to meet our priorities and our strategies that we have set up in the town to support families and businesses right here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Sangeeta. Sorry about my cough there.
That's okay.
So I'm going to have two questions for you. The first one is, what are your key professional strengths, and how do you see them positively impacting your role as a council member?
Sure. So my key professional strengths is, one, I'm a researcher by trade. And so how I approach problem solving is sort of in a very objective sense. So I think, in terms of town council, being able to identify issues or emerging issues, being able to know who to talk to be able to understand those issues, and ultimately to try to think about collectively and creatively solutions for those issues is, I think, something that I can bring to the table. I also have been in the federal service for over a decade, so I understand how, and I've worked on programs that fund grants and stuff. So I understand that process. I understand the grant process and the reporting requirements, and how to improve chances and strategize for funding and to participate in different programs as well, which I think will be an asset.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the final question is, with less than a year left in this term before we're up for re-election, how do you see yourself fitting in with the current council?
I see myself, I've, been following very much the discussions of the town council meetings, understanding what the priorities are. I think they align with things that I think are important and that I can contribute to. I think issues around, I think I can also help with engagement in, I know town council members engage with the working committees, working with the town staff and the mayor, and liaisoning with businesses and residents to understand the issues that are most, that are prioritized with this current council session. And I'm happy to, I'm a team player, I'm collaborative, I'm really good. As part of my job, I do a lot of reviewing and giving input and all the things that are important in your role as a town council member to make sure you're able to be thoughtful in your input and think about sometimes like vulnerable populations that might be impacted, and really engaging and creating dialogue around key issues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you're welcome to stay on for the rest of the meeting. You were our last applicant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry you had to wait so long.
That's okay. Thank you so much to all of you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And council, you have a very hard job. So we have 8 applicants. What a diverse background, knowledge, and I can see how hard it's going to be because we have to choose one. But for those who do not get selected, we do have committees and we do have an election coming up next year. So please get involved, no matter what the outcome is. Please get involved. We could use all of you on this call today. Councilmember Lauren and I went back and forth today about some volunteering. So we need you. So no matter what happens next week, we need you. We need your input. We need your experience. We need you. I'm gonna make a poster up, like the old Uncle Sam poster. So thank you so much. And we're gonna just continue with the agenda. Obviously, you're more than welcome to stay on. You will be muted, but you can definitely stay on. We're going into chapter 3, North Beach zoning. I feel like we've been talking about this for a while, so I think tonight's going to be a good night. So let's move right into it. Stacy, do you have anything you want to pass on to the candidate?
No, I'm good. We'll be in contact.
Yeah, we will be going throughout this week and then getting together after the next council meeting. So stay tuned. We will notify everyone as soon as we have made a decision. So thank you so much.
Okay, good night, y'all. I'm gonna cut out.
Good night, Aubrey.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. That's right. I pointed her to appeal. Don't forget that.
Did.
All right, let's move right into chapter 3, North Beach zoning. Rick is on here.
He is.
I'm here.
All right, so Rick, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you. Obviously, you all have the information that Rick sent out. It's really just rehashing what we talked about the last meeting, but now it's in writing. It's clear, it's clean, it's organized. So Rick, let me turn it over to you, council. Once Rick gets done doing his explanation or conversation, please let him know based off the changes, what conversation we need to have. All right, Rick.
I'm sorry. Do we have chapter 3? I don't see it on board docs.
It's there.
Yeah, it's there.
Oh, maybe I just have to refresh.
Yeah, you probably have to refresh.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in board docs and I sent it to everyone's email as well.
Oh, I didn't get that either, but I don't know. All right. I see it in board docs. I see it in board docs. I didn't get the email though.
So the blue, at least what I printed out was blue. Rick said his was green for some reason. What I printed out with blue was the changes that we all talked about, the cross outs or what we talked about. So go ahead, Rick, or we can just start with council questions, whatever way y'all want to work this.
I know from what I talked about in the use table for single family detached, I was going to work on some conditions. I have 2 of them, which may be enough to cover my qualms with that. For single family detached CM, where we wrote C ? And the conditions I have, if you look at the zoning map, and I unfortunately have an old one on my computer, but the conditions I had for a residence being allowed there, single family residence, is the structure was previously used as a single family. So like if a house, they moved out, the owner decided to make a business and then they didn't want the business anymore, wanted to move a family back in, that's where I could see that being, yes, that's allowed. Currently, it would be a change of use and then it could never go back. So it could be that, or the adjoining properties currently have a residential use. So it would be like if a house between 2 current single residences became a business for a bit, and then they wanted to put a residence back, it's like, cool, you're not disturbing the neighborhood because on either side of you or next to you is still residence. So it's not like putting something oddball right in the middle of something. Even though in the CM, we do want commercial, but there are still pockets in the CM where there are residences tightly packed. Like one of them is on 3rd Street. You have the 3 25-foot lots near the near Sunrise Gardens, which fall in CM. So it's just trying to make it so that if like a single family home or like by the old popcorn store, there were houses along that row that are still residences and that have some previous time in the past gone residence, business, and back and forth. So it's more or less looking at those current areas where there were single family homes or residential uses now. So those were my two conditions for that. And it was like, not both have to be satisfied. It was sort of like a blank or blank.
I don't have an issue with it either way. I think the only thing it does is that those conditions for not letting the residential revert back in commercial was to eventually at some point effect a true just commercial district. If I mean, that'd be my only thing, is that it's gonna take that process much longer if that's what's allowed. And then how does that affect legally how we treat other properties? Can we just single out and say one property is allowed to revert back from non-conforming and not let others?
Do you want me to address that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think as long as you have the wisdom of it, the point that that Rick was initially made, I'm not speaking to, but legally, as long as you have objective criteria, so you're not just saying, oh, that's Joe Smith's house, I really like him and I know he really wants to do this, so we're going to let him do it. That you can't do. But the kind of criteria you were outlining, you could implement, I think, without a challenge. It's just, as I say, a question of policy, to which I defer to you all and Rick.
So, and again, like the areas that I'm looking at where there are currently like single family homes where if they were like, if a business went in, there would still be like residences nearby. It's like on First Street, Jerome's house falls just outside of the W1 and he's in CM. And then you have the three houses on 3rd Street near the park. Then you have what was Richard's Florist. It's now a hair salon. At one point in time, long ago, that was a single family home. But then you have next to that, like the place that has been a few different businesses, but it was a house at one point. And we're finding issues that sometimes businesses in there, like it's finding the right business for those. And some of the lots are so small, developing them into business is hard. And that's my concern, is like a lot of these lots are like the small lots. It's not like it's like, oh yeah, this big, huge house is on a big empty lot. And that's the lot that like truly it's sandwiched in between a whole bunch of commercial properties. Really, that should be commercial. It's like these guys are near already existing residential. So that was my concern, just trying to make it that there could still be residents there in what was typically a residential house at one point in time.
I can't.
And the example is like Diane Burr's house behind Southwinds and next to Abigail's. There were people interested in that house to make it be a single family. They knew they were gonna have to tear it down, but they wanted to have a single family. But we didn't allow it. So now you're gonna have commercial below and then condos above. So you're gonna have a sheer massing there that increases an area that is tight on parking for lots of different reasons. So it's sort of looking at a couple different factors there. So that's where I was looking at those conditions for. So, and I wouldn't want to make it outright permitted, because it's not like I want to have like an empty lot go, oh yeah, this empty lot right around all what is existing commercial, I'm going to put houses on. It's like, no, there was never a structure there that was a single family residence. There's no structure there now. That should be commercial. So like that would still stay. It would be the current structures that have history as a residence. Is why I wanted that to have conditions.
Mickey, so what you're recommending in the C1 just for, because everything else seems like it's jiving for everything, single family detached under CM.
Correct.
Which great move for putting the zoning or the tables right above that. I forgot whose idea that was. Great idea. Lauren, great job.
I had one good idea.
That's it. You're done. It's over.
I'm done.
Done. You would like to make that CM single family conditional, subject to conditions.
Yeah, and the conditions I came up with, that's why like in the edit it's C question mark, because those were the things I added in last work session. And I said, let me think on some conditions. And I'd almost say like, truly, I think the planning commission should also take a crack like we say, hey, look, and it doesn't have to be a formal one. It can be like a quick email to them. It's like, these are what we were thinking. Do you see any issue with them? But like my conditions were the structure was previously used as a single family detached, or the adjoining properties currently have residential use.
And yeah, as long as we can legally say we're gonna just exclude this specific type of use, where that's my only concern. I mean, if legally it's not a problem, that our code still says, once something's non-conforming and it stops being non-conforming, it can't go back to being non-conforming, but that's exactly what we're going to allow doing this.
Yeah, and it sounded like Alyssa said we could, as long as we have clear cut rules there. On what
Yeah,
it was
so
referring to.
as long as that's the case, it doesn't make any difference to me.
Okay.
You might have to amend the non-conforming use language to make sure it tracks properly.
Like
Just to have the exception in there for that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
So, right, I'm not opining that you don't need to do anything else to the ordinance as a consequence. I'm just saying,
yeah,
it's a thing that can be accomplished.
Okay. Yeah, I was just making sure that there wasn't a legal issue. Other than that, it doesn't matter to me which way they go with it.
Any other council members have any questions about that? All right. I'm good with it. W1, you have permitted single family detached, question mark.
Yeah, that was, it should, with all the map time, with the amount of times in planning and zoning, they're going through this, I feel that was just an error. That P was supposed to stay. And it wasn't supposed to be removed because there are lots in there. One of them now has a very large structure that is mixed use, conforming to the rules, around a bunch of one-story residential.
What is this one?
This is the W1 permitted, allowing single family detached in W1.
Right.
So just saying like it's allowed. Because if you look at that district, pretty much the majority of them are single family detached. And if any of them for any reason went vacant and sat too long, then they'd have to come in and be CM, which is what happened at Diane Burr's house. And that's not something I want to see in that district. So especially since the majority of it is single family detached.
Yeah, Diane Burr's house is in W2.
Okay, yeah, it was one of the things where like the way things happened.
All right, council, what questions y'all have about that? What do you want to talk about? Are we good with the P? Rick, do you have any problems with making that?
No, I just need to know what those conditions are. Is it going to be, are you going to want to allow to revert back over and over and over again, or? Can it just go commercial, residential, commercial, residential, commercial, residential? Or is there going to be a limit to how many times that can happen? Because if there's not a limit, then those areas that are supposed to eventually turn strictly commercial will never turn strictly commercial.
Back in the CMs?
Yeah.
I didn't think about that because mainly I was focusing on a couple areas where there are currently single family homes where to do any type of commercial would be rough, especially.
It depends on what kind of business it is too. I mean, commercial can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to mean a bar and a restaurant.
Yeah. Although those are what survive and do well.
You want to table that one?
Right now, on my end, on my opinion, I
have a suggestion on that.
Go for it.
If it changes ownership, I think that the allowance to revert back should go away.
But what if the bank takes it over as in a foreclosure?
Then I think it goes with what it needs to, then it just needs to strictly be kept to what the code says it should be.
See, and that's where I have the issue, because like, say you have a single family detached and the bank takes it, then theoretically, then at that point, it has to become CM. It has to become mixed use.
Right.
And to me, like, that's the part, like, if you had one of those small houses on Third, then it's like, then we have the issue with like Dan's Burr's house, where somebody wanted to buy to make a single family home and they couldn't. And then you have like these small, like 25-foot lots that somebody would have to try and figure out, either do mixed use or do strictly commercial on it, right next to small lot current residential. And
Right.
I feel that's rough on the residents in those properties then. So.
Yeah, in that specific area, I mean, maybe when we on that chapter, or maybe when we get to, maybe we do the zoning map and you look at and changing, if there was any mistakes, or you think there was anything that was changed previously to the zoning map, maybe the zoning map needs to be looked at.
And this was the difficulty we had when we were doing this in planning commission. We were bouncing back and forth between chapters and topics, trying to get everything to jive, which is why, like, I know some things like just got dropped, or missed, or overlooked.
Of course.
So I think
I don't think there's going to be that many with that we have to worry about. We're only talking about a small number. We can just leave the condition that it can just revert back to residential from commercial. We'll just leave it blanket at that. And if it becomes a problem, then we can address it again later. That way it's just, this change is simple.
Okay.
So you're saying W1 single family is permitted?
Yes. Yeah, Rick went backwards asking a question on, should we limit the amount of flops in CF?
Right. All right, so what we're saying though, when we update what we're doing, because obviously once we're done, this has to go to a public hearing and then go, so forth. So what we're saying, or everybody on here tonight is saying right now, is that the W1 is going to be permitted. Single family.
Yes.
The rules of back and forth, we're going to allow in the W1.
In the CM.
Oh, in the CM.
So okay, so now, well, how about W1? Are we going to carry that rule over to W1 and make that a C, so that there's still the potential it develops into commercial the way it was designed, but it won't be forced?
For me, I wanted permitted in W1, just because looking at what's currently in W1, it's more single family, and truly, and this was my issue when it came up the first time when we took it out, is I think W1 should really be residential. Like, if we allow commercial, that's fine, like low impact, but like forcing a commercial on a property, I have real heartburn over up there in that area.
So I think it's going to come back to having a deep conversation about the zoning, about the districts, because what I'm hearing is that we have areas where there's residential and commercial, and the goal with this was to drive commercial to a specific area. So what we're saying, if we make this change, is that we still want it commercial if it's going to be commercial, but they also have a right to make it residential. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, and a lot of that came from, at one point, certain people's opinion on what needed to happen with the density in town and the comp plan, and everything's involved with that, and how like we need to have more commercial, and then looking at vacant lot, those discussions were long and multiple and gone over multiple times. Stacy, you were at all of them with me as well, and we were beating the horse a few times.
All right, so
absolutely.
To move forward for tonight, and council, please chime in when you're ready. CM, Mickey's recommended to make it C, conditional under single family. And then under W1, under single family detached, Mickey's recommended P, permitted. Is that correct, Mickey?
Yes.
Okay. Any council member have a conversation about that?
Oh,
All right. All right. With done, let's move up on page 2. What I'm going to do is just go through the pages. I think it'd be easier. Move back up to the definitions. I guess that's, yeah. C and S, you can see there's changes there. Does anybody have any questions about those changes? And again, this has all come from us over the last couple months.
Or if anybody has questions why the change, don't remember why the changes were made, then let me
That's
know.
what Rick's here for. He's the memory guy.
I took good notes.
God help us. Any questions?
Separately, bookkeeping later. Can we alphabetize the sections? Like that's a fine, that's later on. We're ready to put it out. Just alphabetize it.
What do you mean?
So like if you look at institutional.
Oh,
just-
yeah, inside of the,
Yeah.
The chart.
We actually, I spoke
We
with
talked about that.
We talked about that earlier. Stacy asked me to do it.
And I know it's a pain. It was just
No,
finding things.
Yeah, I got to reformat the whole thing before it goes off. So
Okay.
that was one of the things we talked about today.
The next step will be, once we agree to this, is going to go to public hearing. So the public will have time to input and be, give their 2 cents. Any questions before we move on to page 3?
Can I go back to page 1 real quick? I just
Oh.
noticed something. Sorry. Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
I sent you some proposed language for 3-103 to get away from that promote the development concept, idea, implication that I don't like.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Why? I thought I had made that change.
I thought you did last meeting. I thought I saw.
I thought I had done it too, but it's not.
Well, and then after the last meeting,
Yeah.
Alyssa and I kind of actually put our heads together and came up with language that was a little tighter, and I sent it to you after the last meeting.
Yep. I know. I got it, and I thought that I had changed it.
Okay, so maybe you did, because it just still says promote the development. I thought.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at it now. I don't know. It's not changed. Matter of fact, I thought I had changed it. I even put a note on the side that said, "Is this what you wanted?" I don't know why it's not there.
Just make a note, Rick.
You just make a note. I can't even remember what I said. I thought it was really good, though.
It was good. It's
really
well.
It was.
Thanks, Alyssa.
It was a much cleaner.
All right. Just make a note and make the change.
I'll make the
Welcome.
change. It goes back out. If I can't find the email, Lauren, I'll email you in the morning.
Okay.
All right. Page 3. The changes, again, based off of our last meeting. But if you're like me, thank God I have the pile of notes from the last meeting. Any questions about what you see in front of you on page 3?
It looks like we broke out personal services, so we would just carry down the Ps to those categories.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you're looking at where we combine this was what Elizabeth was talking about the last time. So what we've done is we broke personal services down, and we kind of just went around and looked at what everybody else was doing and what some of the other bigger places were doing. And they had personal services specifically for grooming. And then so we broke it down farther. So there's personal services for grooming, wellness, and health. And then we got rid of some of these other ones that will fall underneath of there. And then once we get down here.
That's good.
So just let me chime in. So the reason that we broke it down the way that we did is because some services, so we're looking at health and we're looking at wellness. We were looking at what the town's actually attracting as far as services that are coming in around that space. And that's good. But when you look at what the licensure requirements are and all the things different for health versus wellness, it's all over the place. And it's all over the place in the types of wellness services that are showing up, including some of the things that are very hard to categorize, like, I don't know, I'm not going to say it because I probably said it a million times. They're staff is probably sick of hearing me saying it. But so there's some definite legal reasons why we wouldn't want to put certain wellness modalities in with the health category. And I think that Rick put that in the definitions or in that other document, because I was reading it earlier. So that's kind of why we did that. And so you see, we just grouped and said, let's just make it easier. So if we have to do anything, the Ps would all work, the zoning would be the same, but there'll be conditions that are necessary for each of those different categories, those 3 spaces. Some are obviously going to be more lenient and some are obviously going to be more stringent. So we would have to work on those. I don't know where we are on that. Rick would have to chime in on that.
On which piece?
The conditions that would apply for our wellness service versus a health service.
So that was what I was going to say, was if anybody has, obviously we won't get it done tonight, but if anybody has any thoughts on what kind of conditions they want to see, they just email me. I will put that document together and get it out, and I will get the whole thing put back together and sent back out to everyone before the next meeting.
All right. Got homework. Anything else on page 3? All right, let's move to page 4.
I'd assume it's the same thing with the arts, how that was broken out, just carry the Ps down from the category it came out of.
Yes, sir.
Page 4.
Yeah, I was having a problem with the charts in this document when I was doing the changes. So the formatting kept screwing up. So I just stopped messing with it.
Yeah,
But it will-
working in those things is always a pain.
It
I
will
think
be,
it's because Rick, you're in track changes, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It just was, it was getting near the end of the day and I was like, yep, that's it.
all right. So page 4, we added some stuff, which we talked about. Item A, some changes in item C. Any questions about page 4?
Yeah, so the only items on the items on page 4 was where the arts fall back down. You can see they fell down. And then we added brew pub, microbrew, tap room. And so you had them listed as conditional in those 3 places, and food truck and trailer conditional in 3 places.
Any questions? All right. Page 5, a lot of color. A lot of changes. A lot of strikeouts, a lot of blue. Any questions about this? And this one I remember a lot of because we talked about the group homes, we talked about apartments attached and so forth. So any questions about these items?
Yeah. So what did you add, Rick? You added the blue?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, minimum of 2, so you added off-street. Okay, you added the off-street parking, so that's good. So at D, we have here a comment from Paul. Number needs legal review. Did you get around that by putting in the new number 4? As long as they're licensed through the state of Maryland, then.
Yeah, that way we're not actually enforcing anything that the state doesn't enforce.
Right, then that's what we all agreed to last meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, all right, I don't have any more questions on page 4.
Anybody else?
Are we on 4 or 5? Page
Excuse
4.
me,
We're on-
page 5.
Okay, so I know in the last meeting, I asked for a clarification on if we can limit massing of vacation rentals. And Alyssa did respond to us. And then what I did was I put the rentals on a zoning map just to see where they fall in our zones. And there is the only place where there's more than 2, or rather more than 1 in a block, and there's 2 in that block, is in the CM zone. Everywhere else in the residential section, there's only like 1 per block. And my concern was at that time, just like if you had a couple of 25-foot lot houses that are all vacation rentals, handling the parking for the residents. So what we may do to address that concern, we may backwards, is when we hit chapter 5 and deal with parking, we may want to then figure out what they want to do with parking in that aspect there, and then we may cycle back to look at the conditions here based off what their recommendation is for parking. But that's why I brought that up, was a concern for parking affecting residents in vacation rentals. If you happen to have a block where you have a bunch of 25-foot lots, and you have residents mix in with vacation rentals that can't necessarily handle their parking off street. So that's why I brought that up last time. So like right now I'm good with that page, just knowing that we may bounce backwards at some point based on what happens in chapter 5 when they work on that.
Fair
So
enough.
but for right now I'm okay with it as is.
Any other questions? Good point.
So
Any
right
other
now, do they have to have off-street parking, or just, what does that mean, maintain a minimum of 2 parking permits? So they don't need to have off-street parking now,
No.
just permits.
Well, and we don't do the permits right now. We haven't done permits in years and years. So that's why one of the reasons we took it out.
But it's there, I see it, I'm looking at it.
We're at on the vacation rental.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 5.
2 residential parking permits, which I would tell
It's
y'all,
there.
we should
Yeah,
leave
that
them
needs
in
to
there
come
for
out.
now.
Leave it.
because-
Maybe you know what? Maybe that's what it was.
Yes, Rick and I have talked about this for 3 years. Not just this, but so when we get to chapter 5, leave this in here for now because we will be addressing parking, and and these parking permits might be back.
So,
Oh,
and-
it might
and
be
then-
back, so you don't want to take it out because it might come.
Right, I would leave it in because based off of our research and what we've been looking into, I mean,
Yeah.
exhaustively, it might be back, and I would be very confident in saying that. So
Do you
it
wanna
doesn't
talk
hurt us
about
leaving it. It doesn't hurt
You want
us
to talk
leaving
about
in
it more, Mike?
Huh?
Would you like to, let's talk about it. Let's get into
Tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow.
it. We have
And-
plenty of time.
Lauren, I've been at pretty much all the Board of Appeals meetings where they go through the vacation rentals. And I
Yeah.
generally ask about parking and how they're going to handle it and how many
Yeah.
their cars are. And a lot of the times it's like, okay, cool. So you have a driveway. You need to try and make sure that your guests park in the driveway. And if the driveway can fit 3 cars, they should really try and put 3 cars down the driveway.
Yeah.
So, and like one of them came up just recently in Burn Oaks, where like I knew that your HOA board is very concerned with parking. So it's like, please make sure you have that handled, because the last thing you want as an Airbnb owner is to have your guests' cars towed.
Yeah.
And,
So like parking is addressed in those Board of Appeals meetings. It's just, we may at some point want to look at our teeth on that end.
I agree.
All right.
All right. Anything else on page 5? All right, go to 6. 6, one item at the top, blue, at least mine is blue. Home daycare, same approval process as a vacation rental.
So does this address Paul's? Gather more info, should be similar to nursing home.
Oh. Where's their nursing home?
This was about
I remember him
G.
bringing that up.
G. I'm at G right now. I don't know if I jumped ahead. Maybe I did.
No.
No, that's where I'm at too. I remember talking about, but I thought somebody, Alyssa, were you gonna look, was this what you were looking at as far as occupancy sizes?
She was looking at something else, but I think you addressed it by.
Yeah.
I don't think I had anything left on my instructions that I didn't address, which
I
isn't
couldn't
to say
remember. I
I'm
knew there
not-
was something about numbers of people. I couldn't remember which one it was.
It was on the prior page.
Okay.
But you addressed it by saying all group homes must be licensed to the state of Maryland. So we didn't even worry about it. So for home daycare, we were talking about having an occupancy restriction. You said, I think they're mandated under state licensing requirements. But maybe we should have our own. But maybe we just use the same kind of approach that we use for group homes.
So whatever, yeah, it's licensed by the state
Yeah.
and they're good.
Yeah.
Do it. I'll create something new, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure they both have the same language.
All right, so
'Cause
we're
we
gonna change home daycare to, instead of saying standard approved process of vacation rental.
It'll be I'll print out what is where the conditions for vacation rental. I just did that to save space for this. So all of the conditions that are listed under vacation rental will now also be listed under home daycare. And we'll make sure that the wording is there stating so we're not going to give specific occupancy. It'll be whatever is regulated by the state licensure.
Okay.
We good with that? All right,
Yeah.
put it in there, Rick. Any other questions of 6? All right. Let's go to 7.
Wait, so Paul has another. Did you address Paul's concern here at a daycare center, nursery school? Should daycare permit overnight housing? Should daycare's permit allow overnight housing?
That was about the staff, right?
The owner or manager living on the
Yeah,
premises.
owner manager, that's it. Because in here we have the owner manager shall live on a premise and shall have quarters that are separate and distinct from the facilities used for operation of the daycare center.
Yeah, I think we should just strike that one. It almost seems like it was the same wording used for
Right.
another one and they just carried it over and forgot to get rid of it.
Strike it.
I mean, a daycare center in nursery school is totally different than home daycare, right? Or home.
Yeah.
I think we had that. Yeah, all right. What do you want to do?
Strike it.
Take it out.
All right. So 3 gone.
Oh, you know, that was what the thing was that was asked was, what if it's a 24-hour daycare? But I'm like, it's kind of common sense. If it's 24-hour daycare, somebody's going to be there. I mean,
Right, they're working. They're working. They're not, I mean, it's 24 hours working, not like.
I don't think we need to regulate that. I think we can just remove it as well. So let me see if I can do it right now.
All right. What else did you see, Lauren?
Oh, off-street parking down at number H10, off-street parking. Should we indicate? Oh yeah, did you want to put a capacity? Enough for staff or 2 parking or something, because they could just have 1 off-street parking. They could have enough just for 1 car.
So maybe 10. Go ahead, Mickey.
That may be rolled in chapter 5.
Right, okay, that's a
Go back to
parking
the
thing.
parking table.
That's Mike's favorite issue, I forgot.
Stop it.
Lauren, we used to have
We're
a
all my
parking
Christmas
table.
card list now.
So like back before one of these, we used to have a parking table where it's like every apartment needed 1.5 spaces or something like that. And the planning and zoning, I think, is going back to something of that style.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of 1.5. It's either 2 or 1. I've never seen a half a car yet.
It got changed to 2 at some point, but
Yes.
I just threw 1.5 out because that's the headache of the 2 HOAs is
Yes,
when they were built,
yes.
it was 1.5.
Yeah, but you know what? I've talked to both of those HOAs and they still don't want to. So where the 1.5 comes from, because everybody thinks it sounds so crazy, and it does sound crazy, but it's 1 car for every townhouse.
Yes.
And then the way they base visitor parking is 1/2 space per townhouse is how they come up with the figure for the number of visitor parking. So it comes out to 1.5 per townhouse, but it's not really 1.5.
I sell real estate for a living.
And just say what it is.
It's 2. Every townhome subdivision complains about parking. Everybody has an extra car.
Oh yeah.
Or
so
kid.
1.5 was just to get past the zoning. It had nothing to do with reality.
I think they should just come over to A Street and park by your house.
Nyrie's still on here. They're gonna park next to her. Don't yell at me, Nyrie. All right, what else we got?
All right.
Lauren's doing
We
that.
got
enough
more.
tonight.
We got more, but we can move to page 7.
All right, let's go to 7.
I'm not going to talk about I, which is about parking. I'm going to talk about J. So J, so Rick, there was a change here as
J.
well. You were going to say, we had agreed there would be like, say, staff 24/7, not that the owner or manager have to live there, just that it has to be staffed.
Still on page 6, Mike.
Oh yeah, okay. She threw it
Yeah,
in.
I thought like this was another one. I thought this got changed in the meeting. Like while we were going, I thought they were. So
J3.
So got it.
All right, make that change. All right. All right, what else on that, on J? Or anything else on 6?
No music. No, this looks good.
All right, so we are now moved over to page 7.
Right, so we agreed to all this at the last meeting on page 7 and all the text in the blue.
We agreed to eliminate. Yep.
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 Any questions about 7 before we go to 8?
Nope.
8 starts out with a lot of red ink.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing there is just remove motor vehicle sales and rental.
Yep.
That was the only change.
9 has a lot of blue. So we added a lot of stuff on 9, guys. So take a look at that real quick.
Those were the new conditions for tavern, nightclub, lounge. And like I said, some of this is spaced out a little funny because the formatting just kept screwing up on me. I don't know why.
So
Okay, good.
there was a conversation about requiring them to purchase food from local North Beach restaurants. We got rid of all that.
So that's yeah, it's now just says what
Food
Alyssa
must be
came up
made
with.
available for consumption.
Yep. If food is not prepared on site, the operator must permit patrons to order or bring in food. Period.
Sounds good to me. Sounds like a lawyer wrote it, but it's still good.
She did.
It sounds good. I'm just teasing you, Alyssa. I can't just tease Mike.
I know.
It
right.
makes me feel like I'm one of you. It's good.
She's used to it.
All right, you heard that. So direct her attention down here.
All right.
All right, anything else on page 9?
Well, wait, so we agreed to all this, right? Terminated no later than 10 yet.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
Only question I have is, does this align with the table? I know it's probably one of my dumb questions that I like to ask every once in a while to annoy people.
What's
But these categories align with the table because, you know, we remove massage therapy and we put it into the health category. So
Yeah, that'll all be changed once when I do the final one, everything will match.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah. It's conditional. Yeah. And first part of tavern, nightclub, and lounge is conditional use. So roughly it lines up and it'll be cleaned up more.
Thank you.
All right. Page 10. Page 10 is all blue.
Man.
Y'all were busy on this one.
Let me to.
So yeah, the top of 10 is where you see the food must be made available. That was from Tavern or Nightclub. And then, so to give you a little background on what happened with this today, where you see the Y and then limited alcohol facilities and then the main text, that's actually in a chart because of the chart up from above. So it's carried over into the whole document. So you can't just type straight across. You have to type in each individual one. And then as they move down, you have to then adjust each other column. So it's just it was impossible.
We will 100% get it cleaned up, I promise you.
Yeah, I just ran out of
Yep.
patience to do it today.
But the gist of it, or the meat of it is here.
All right, so where are we? Are we reading food truck trailer? Is that what we're doing?
Mhm.
Well, if we look at page 10,
Yeah.
coming down, you'll see 1, 2, and then 3. I guess that's food truck trailer. Remember, if it's our goal was that we said that the food truck trailers would service brick and mortars. When this is talking about not servicing an existing brick and mortar, there's conditions for that.
Oh, okay.
Correct, Rick?
Yeah.
And that means it just can't be placed there. It's an event, I assume, that we're getting at. It just can't be put on a commercial lot, property, so forth.
That was
Unless
what you
it's-
talked about last time, was that they would only be allowed for existing brick and mortar businesses, and or when the town has events.
Yes.
So where are those conditions?
Um,
Because that's really important.
no, 100%. But I do know there are supposed to be, I mean,
Because right now it makes it seem like they can just go
yes, it
anywhere,
does.
whenever.
And that's not what none of us agreed to.
No.
I know right now, and this may be more work for Rick, it may be easier to honestly pull this section out and drop it into Word separately, like just this section, and try and get it to line up, like not even within this whole page, just like a separate sheet, and just said, this is this section, cleanly typed and lined up. Because I know my mind keeps trying to play the game of which way is it lined and whatnot. And I'll get it half the time, and then I'll look to something else and I lose it. And
Well,
I know
trust me, I understand. While I was typing it, it was doing that, and it just.
All right,
Mine's lined up. I don't know what y'all are looking at, but must have a
well,
good computer.
here's what I do know, based off what Lauren just said, I don't think this is correct unless there's something I'm missing.
I think it's not right based off our last conversation either, but I also know I asked the question of, well, what about the currently existing Knicks? How does he
We said that would be grandfathered
That's
in.
grandfathered. This is
Yeah,
for that's
this is for
grandfathered
new.
in.
I know.
So
I'm going through my head the conversation we had. It's like, okay, cool. We brought up Knicks, and it was like, okay, well, he's tied in some utilities, but we're going to grandfather him. And then it was like, yeah, we only wanted brick and mortar, but then special events are separate. We're like, if a business wanted to have a special event, say where we close the street, that's separate than what this.
And it comes under a whole different permitting process as well.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, but right now, what I see is that this is not what we talked about.
Yeah, it should be. I think we decided on food trucks could only service a brick and mortar.
Yeah, it's like I said, this is another one. I could have swore we had made some changes while we were going.
Well,
and now
we're gonna fix this and get it back to everybody, because this
okay,
is
so
not.
it looks like a lot of new stuff was added though. So, I mean, do we want to have food trucks available for like town sponsored events?
They're
Was that-
separate. That would be a separate thing from this.
Where is that?
Well, it's not listed because the town can, if a town sponsors an event, they can do whatever. If it's a town event, they can do whatever they want.
Oh,
It
so then
doesn't-
just take out all this stuff about ones that aren't servicing brick and mortar then, right? Like just say if you're a food truck, you have to service a brick and mortar.
Yeah, I'm going to change the wording. I thought we had done it last time, but it's not. It's another one. I don't know if I grabbed the wrong copy.
This is not. So basically 1 through 10, maybe 11, 12. I don't think because ice cream truck is emptied on here. On page 11, ice cream truck has nothing next to it.
Yeah, I'll put everything where it's supposed to be, and I'll change the wording for food truck or trailer, where it says, it's gonna say must service an existing brick and mortar business.
All right, fix that. And then, but look, if you go to page 11, what was supposed to be on page 11?
Nothing.
Okay, well,
Yeah, there's an ice cream truck thing. What happened to
No.
that?
The ice cream truck, if you look up, it says permitted operating mobile capacity west of Chesapeake Ave.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's the ice cream truck. So like, that's where Rick was talking about putting in a thing and it bumps everything down independently of like the next column over.
all right, well.
Yeah,
let's
they're
get this-
not, none of the columns are attached.
All right, we got to fix it and we can fix it. We if we have to, we'll get somebody to come in and help, but we'll get this fixed and cleaned up so so when you see it, it's correctly seen. Yeah, because I mean, page 11, there's nothing we can do there.
Yeah, no, I'll fix, that's, the only thing on page 10 is just to change the food truck trailer to only brick and mortar.
Yes.
And then the other stuff just has to move up.
Yes.
And then we made the changes up front, but any conditions that are gonna be for those last 6 items is what somebody needs to come up with.
Grooming, wellness, health, artwork, hobbies, and fine and performing, fine something.
Probably
Yeah,
fine art.
there's another document. You click on the definitions document, they were added.
All right, Rick, let's get this cleaned up and get it back out to council next week.
Yeah, I'll get on it tomorrow.
All right.
Can everybody open the other documents to see if the definitions that we're gonna change are okay with everyone?
So here's the definitions. Temporary concession.
We did
Food
those
truck.
last time. Yeah, we went through all those last time.
Yeah.
The new ones start at 7.
All right, 7 is personal services.
There's
8
a
is-
typo.
Yeah,
Typo, yeah.
yeah. 8 is the arts.
Okay, so what is this definition for personal services?
Which one?
Number
Where did this
7.
come from? A service based on the intellectual or manual efforts of an individual? What does that mean?
So what we had to do is we looked at the definitions for personal services in
Yeah.
a lot of different areas. We looked at federal, looked at state, we looked at county, we looked at just general, business,
Okay.
and said, okay, so we have looked at all these data points. Now, what is the one that's going to support the types of businesses that we are attracting to this town? So that's what we had. That's what we had to do when we were looking at these definitions. And what is it? And again, I was saying earlier that the licensure is the difference between grooming, wellness, and health. Health obviously is the you require the most licensing because it's medical in nature. With wellness, it gets a little dicey because some of the modalities, although in the health space, they figured out how to bill it to insurance companies and things like that. If you're a sole proprietor trying to open a business, you can't actually do that yet because health committee in the United States has not really, blessed them off and said, yeah, you're a health modality. You're still in a wellness space. So we had to write it so that if somebody was in, and I know I've been following this because I've been doing yoga for like over 20 years. So I've been following it a lot with the lobbyists and everything else, because there are some of these modalities that are very close to being acknowledged where they would have the licensure to become a health category. But you don't want to get that crazy because we're trying to do it in a commercial space. And we're also trying to honor the fact that we have business development that's happening in the town and we're attracting these. So where do we draw a line on what all these services are?
I think it all looks good. I'm just stuck on personal services was honestly, it just sounds like a little weird, this definition.
It's
So maybe-
Merriam-Webster.
Okay, so maybe we could just like you do for grooming and wellness, you could put that include but are not limited to and give people some examples of what you're talking about.
Well, the personal services is just the overall, and then
Oh, it's the overall.
and then
Yeah,
so then grooming, wellness, and health fall underneath of that
Oh, okay, I see.
generic description.
Okay.
based on their
Is that
different,
better?
Yeah, okay.
based on
I
their
mean,
different
yeah,
forms of
that
search.
helps. I still think that's a weird definition, but it's okay. It's probably just me. I'm probably just weird.
I'm leaving that alone.
Yeah, me too, actually.
I'm leaving that.
Okay. All right. Probably a good idea.
I couldn't come up with one that sounded good, so I just opened the dictionary.
All right.
All right, so how about 8 of the arts?
This is another definition that I just looked up.
Looks fine.
And these will fall into play, I'm guessing, when we, on page 11.
Yeah, part of the reason that we broke these out this way too is because we've always had this discussion that goes back and forth about whether we're going to have an art district or whether we're going to have a performing arts center, or all this, and it just ebbs and flows in that discussion over time. So we said, okay, fine, there's different requirements for each of these and they mean something different. Like artwork is definitely in the professional space, you know, creating banners and stuff, like kind of like what they're doing over there at the lighthouse. But it's different from what Abigail is doing. It's different from, you know, what the arts and crafts. So we just said, okay, let's just define it and we'll have to just look at it when they come in to request for a license. That's all. Before it was just all lumped in something that said studios. It said studios. A studio could be for anything, you know, could be for anything. So just putting some fidelity into it.
All right. Any questions? Because obviously now I know I highlighted a lot of stuff and made notes for Rick. So Rick's got to jump back on this and get it to us so we can get a cleaner copy. So Rick, you have.
So
your
if
motion.
anybody can send, does anybody have any? I mean, just trying to think of what conditions to do for the 6 new categories. Or whether there needs to be conditions.
Well, couldn't they, I mean, so.
Are they all licensed? Can we just use that kind of language? Must be licensed by whatever, the state of
I
Maryland?
mean, we could do that one will work for the health one because we broke it down to health because they all require some sort of state licensure. So can do that for the health one. I guess the grooming one is the same way because that's all state licensed too, but in a different field. The wellness one is the only one. That's the one that's kind of.
That's not licensed?
Nope. Yoga,
Oh.
none of those things.
No, they're
No.
not licensed. They're not licensed. They're not the same way that health and grooming is licensed.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, would they have, I mean, they would have a business license.
Yes,
Yeah.
but license in terms of professional licensing board, like a board sort of licensing or something that an attorney or somebody would have to go through.
So,
They really don't have that.
so one thing, they have to be a business in good standing. Because if they're a business, I mean, they should be registered with the state and they should be in good standing. That's
I'm gonna
one-
type this up tomorrow, Mayor, and I will put together a list of some conditions that might apply. And then when I send it out, everybody can look at it and determine what they want to keep or not keep.
All right.
Because I think what Lauren said is probably the easiest way with the ones on here that have some sort of state licensure, we can put the conditions we need because it's already set by the state. So I'll put
Yeah, but
together a
I
few
think
things.
I think Mike made a good point though. I mean, are these wellness, are they licensed, like you said, they have a business license? Do they get
Well, all
inspected by
businesses
the
they all have to
health
have one.
department, by the health department? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, but business license, they all have to have a town business license. That's
Oh,
so.
okay.
And by that, they have to have a state license too, or, you know, they have to be licensed in good standing.
Yeah.
To be able to get our license.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be
But
added
just-
in there.
But just as a business, like
Yes.
they've had to pay their
Yes.
business taxes and all that,
Yes.
not as a professional association, not as a professional association. It varies across the board.
Yeah,
It
so
really
but
does.
what it tells us, if they have licenses if they're licensed in some way or manner, it's probably a somewhat reputable business.
I mean, to me,
Or,
that's a minimum bar, but at least
Sometimes.
there's a bar.
yeah, exactly.
Yes, I agree.
So
All right,
on
so
my
I'll put something together and I will send it out. I'll have this done tomorrow.
All right, Mickey, what do you got?
on my end, I could see CM being P, like it's permitted in commercial mixed use areas.
Yes.
W2, I could see it being in P. To me, it's what do we want to see for them in W1?
Yeah,
So-
the
Yeah.
far end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
so
we
The
know,
south end.
yes,
Yeah.
because we just know because we know what's going on in town, that there are people that have these services inside their homes, and we can't really regulate that for whatever reason. We can't regulate it.
We can't
So-
regulate it, but they're illegally working from their home, so we can stop it.
Well, there are some in-home businesses allowed. Oh God, what was that termed?
But has to be approved by the town. They just can't do it.
Yeah.
And we
So-
have some now that we're actually going after. Well, we've been going after for a long time, but
Yeah, what is it? It's unclassified use as home occupation, and it's conditional in like all the districts. And then the conditions for that fall down here somewhere. But yeah, no, that's all. Just with breaking those out, because that's why I asked, like, are we just going to carry down the P's, like from the main category, and then we broke it out? So like to me, it's like CMP, W2P, W1 is where we may want to look at it.
I mean,
For each
looking
one.
at, yeah, I think we need to, because, you know, as much as it might not be an issue, it could become one real quick. So
Yeah.
looking at the zoning, we definitely, especially if they have clientele coming to their house.
Yes.
And these have
And
clientele.
there are some like that.
Right.
And one thing I did not include in here, I have a discussion about that actually should be there, is in coaching, because coaching is another super, super, super gray area. You know,
Well, we talked about home-based this, home-based that, and these parking, they need this, they need that. I think these, if we're gonna permit them in these locations, they have to follow the same rules. They have to provide parking. If not, I mean, you think a VRBO could be a pain. Could you imagine a business with 4 or 5 people come in there? I mean, it could get ugly real quick.
And I think when we do chapter 5 in the parking, that will change, because you know, the way it works now is it's up to the planning commission to determine whether a business does or does not need to provide any additional parking other than what's available around them. And, you know, when we look at chapter 5, I really think we should look at some of those charts that we had in previously.
Oh, 100%. I mean, chapter 5 is, as Lauren knows, is something I like talking about.
I like charts, if that helps. I'm a good chart maker.
You take the charts then.
Okay.
What we do, I mean, if you're looking at these, you know, grooming, wellness, health, I mean, all of those require a human. So they're getting to this house or this business somehow. So I think we need to be very careful on that. So it definitely was something we need to address. All right, Rick, obviously get it to us as soon as possible, but please quadruple check it. Make sure it lines up. We need it to line up.
Yeah, I was just looking at how to fix it.
All right, well, not to do it right now, but definitely make sure it lines up. Any questions for Rick?
If you accept all changes, save a new document, and then get rid of track changes, it should be a lot easier to work in this document when you're making changes.
Lauren says
I just looked something up. It said it looks like because these charts were probably done in something else and then transferred to Word, and then everything else was put on. Everything below it falls under those, almost like it's in that same kind of a chart.
Or it was done in Word 98.
Yeah. No, I'll get it done tomorrow.
All right, figure it out. Just get her done.
I just cleared 2 things off my calendar. So
Any other questions for Rick?
Nope.
All right, guys, listen, we are not going into closed session tonight. There's no need to. We will be in closed session next week. So you have 168 hours, put it to good use. Please, you know, we had 8 great candidates today. So please take your time. And then we will address it next week. Paul will get the recording to be able to look at the recording, plus he has all the resumes, and he will be involved in next week's conversation.
Okay.
Any questions for me, for Rick, or Alyssa before we make a motion to adjourn? None heard? All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Night.
Night,
Nice
everybody.
to see you all.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good
Bye.
night.
I hope your dad's
Bye.
doing better, Alyssa.